Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And it's time for another daily dose of Dismal Disney.
This one's funny.
But they're not all funny. I think they're all pretty funny.
But this one's pretty funny.
So this is actually a double dose of Dismal Disney. We're going to talk about a CNBC anchor accidentally calling Bob Chapek Bob Paycheck.
On air.
On air.
And WDW News, they caught it. Literally, he called him Bob Paycheck, caught himself like, Chapek. It's funny.
And then we're going to talk about the Disney decline. Again, we did a video a couple days ago, but more outlets are coming out and talking about just how inflated
right. There's another poll. They're talking about people believe that the magic's gone. They believe this is too expensive. I mean, we're talking like high numbers of people too. So
anyway, yeah, Disney is high. We're going to talk about all of this.
I guess we should call it Disney's high.
Disney's high? Anyway.
Bob Paycheck's high.
Yeah, he might be. He might be. Anyway, we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Almost 276,000 subs. Thank you so much for the support. Check out piratesandprincesses.net. That is objective Disney theme park news. And yeah, so let's play this clip here.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
This is on WDW News today.
Couple of huge interviews this hour. Disney's chief, Bob Chapek, as well as an exclusive with Verizon's Hans Vestberg. We look forward to.
And it's funny because they're going to talk about the exclusive interview that they're going to have with Bob Chapek, Disney CEO, after he called him Bob Paycheck on air.
Bob Paycheck. There we go, guys. Yeah, so apparently CNBC has been following all the drama around Bob Chapek.
Well, it's funny because MSNBC is usually the place, and CNBC are usually the ones that Bob Chapek keeps going to do interviews all the time.
Yes.
Exclusive interviews.
Yes.
I wonder if he's going to do it with them anymore because the anchor just called him Bob Paycheck. So he's even calling, backstage, they're calling them, apparently, Bob Paycheck.
Oh my God.
I think it's hilarious.
It is hilarious. So let's talk about what is helping him earn that moniker. You did an article talking about this poll showing that 92.6% of people believe the park is too expensive and 68.3% believe the magic is gone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's other statistics here. So yeah, Time to Play polled about 2,000 Disney World enthusiasts. So these are park people that go all the time and stuff.
Right.
So they're knowledgeable about how they felt about the rising cost of going to Walt Disney World and and how it's impacted their decisions for their trips. So they had this little image here. If you go down, we can see some of the percentages. So when they polled these people, they found out that 92.6% believe the cost of Disney World vacation is now out of the reach for most average families.
That's been true for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
68.3% say rampant price increases make it feel like Disney World has lost its magic. I would say more than that, but that's part of it. 48.3% have postponed a Disney World trip in recent years due to price increases.
I'd say that's true.
That's about 50%.
Yeah, remember, they've got Scrooge on here, and I think it's funny. Remember when they had this thing on the website that they were like, hey, you can plan for your Disney trip. You can open a savings account, a Disney savings account. Through Disney. And it was kind of like a Christmas club or something you could do, and you basically just deposit money every month for a Disney trip. Now, I don't know if they still do it or not, but they're sure as hell not promoting it because their mindset probably is if you can't cut a check for a Disney vacation, out of your monthly pay, we don't want you.
Well, one thing I thought was interesting, and when we worked with Disney on stuff, they would want to spring out some rollout for something 3 months out. And it's like, you do realize most families need 6 months, a year or more to plan for this trip. They can't just, I'm just going to drop that money and go in 2 months. They could not wrap their head around the fact they have to be planning. If you want to promote Halloween, you need to start the year before for next Halloween. They couldn't comprehend this.
Yeah, I never got that. I'm like, how long have you guys been open? They didn't seem to grasp that the average family had to save for months or years for a Disney World vacation. They would drop these specials and stuff, and they would think that people would just be able to just drop everything they're doing. They didn't have to give notice at work or schedule time off, and they just happen to have an extra $5,000 or $10,000 laying around because everybody's just got an extra $5,000 or $10,000.
It was something I remember saying to Neon a couple times. I'm like, how much time do you think people need? They need way more than this. 66.9%. See, they had was 66.6 when funnier. Feel that they don't need they don't upgrade to Genie Plus and purchase an individual Lightning Lane entries, they won't get the full Disney World experience. You'll be waiting in line for a shit amount of time, like a long amount of time. Because the Genie Plus, we used it, and other than being at Hollywood Studios, it did help, but it cost $15 per person per day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting to the point now where even if you have the money to go, it's not a good return on investment.
No,
especially
especially
when they're talking about, the rides being in disrepair and the cast members not caring as much as they used to.
I think it was one of the cruise lines that does Alaska cruises. I saw a commercial yesterday, and in the fine print when they were doing the commercial, it said for half the cost of a theme park visit. It said that right on the commercial for another cruise line. I was like, all inclusive. Shots fired.
Yeah, and they were like, it's all inclusive, basically you pay, and that's true. I mean, well, they don't mention that a lot of times on cruise lines you got to pay for drinks and you got to pay for tips, but for the most part, they tell you your cruise is going to be $2,000 or $3,000. That's it. That's what.
Even Disney does that, where they roll it all in.
But they have upcharges on the ship too. Of course they do. Of course they do.
So the article also broke down talking about inflation and about how it affects people. Now I actually went a little further than what they did. They talked about how in 1971 when Magic Kingdom opened, because originally it was just the Magic Kingdom, it was about $3.50 per ticket, which at the time, if you went by the federal minimum wage rate, it was 2.19 hours of a person's work back then.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at the price of a ticket, which is $109 to $159 a day, it's going to cost, it's going to be 15 to 21.9 hours for one person, for one ticket, for one day at the federal minimum wage currently. So you're talking you'd have to work like up to half a week if you worked full time. Most people minimum wage don't get to work full time, just to be able to go one person per day.
When I first started going to Disneyland, now Disneyland was never, I don't think it was as expensive as Disney World, but I started going to Disneyland like in the late 80s. And I remember the tickets being between $20 and $25 a person. And back then even, and my family was making pretty good money back then. That was expensive.
Yeah.
In the late 80s, early 90s, like, wow, $25 a person.
Oh, well, they used to be like the more days you went, the better deal you got. And they stopped doing that too for the most part. I figured it out too. If you account for inflation, $3.50 in 1971 should be $25.60 today. Yep. Not $109 to $159. So then you take that and you're like, okay, so 51 years ago, a family of four could do 4-day tickets, not talking else, just tickets, for $56. It's $409 today. If a family of four they'd have to spend $1,744 to $2,544 to do four people to go 4 days at the parks. So they would have to work 35.4 hours back in 1971 for all four of them to buy tickets for 4 days. Now you'd have to work at the federal minimum wage 244.8 hours to 350.4 hours. 6-9 weeks full time for federal minimum wage just to buy tickets for four people to go 4 days.
That's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy, and they keep jacking the prices up. And this is all about, of course, it's just the way it works. But they're like, hey, the investors got to be happy, and they've always ratcheted up the prices in the parks to pay for shortcomings elsewhere.
It's not keeping up with inflation. It's so far surpassed. Like if you say you had a family making $50,000 a year, I broke that down too. You'd have to work 2 to 3 weeks full time to pay for just 4-day tickets for 4 people. And then somebody had a baseline trip for Walt Disney World with accommodations, travel, food, Genie Plus. They figured about $5,700 for a family of 4 with one child being under 9 because it's cheaper. It would take somebody at the federal minimum wage 20 weeks of work full time to pay for that. It would take someone making $50,000 a year 6 weeks to cover this trip. Nobody has that money now. There's too much increases in like your everyday spending, everyday lives to account for that.
Some people have that money.
Well, I mean, for most people, it's ridiculous. And why would you spend it on that when you could go buy other things?
And again, it's like if the parks were really the primo experience they used to be, it might, if you had that kind of money, it might be worth spending it. But yeah, I mean, we've been in some of the deluxe hotels. I'm like, God, this is...
Oh, the one like Contemporary, I was like, ugh.
Contemporary was dirty. I was like, how much we pay for this? It's like 3 times the cost of a Hilton, and the Hilton's a hell of a lot nicer than this place.
I mean, and it's just like, you know, the Disney difference, but everybody's complaining that the rooms aren't clean, the parks are dirty, stuff's breaking down. It used to be it was worth paying that money because it was a Disney difference. You're not even getting that now. And then Dippo Paycheck here makes the comment about, you know, oh, well, we don't want those everyday people. We want the people that, you know, family of 5 or family from Denver that makes a trip once every 5 years. Yeah, and they come down and they see how shitty it is and how expensive it is. They're not going to make another trip down in 5 more years. The reason they're calling you Bob Paycheck is because you're gouging people. You're making everything unaffordable. You're jacking up Disney Plus now. You're just greedy little SOB, and everybody's tired of it. And you look like a thumb.
Well, he's got a beard now. So.
A hairy thumb.
He looks like the bad guy from Iron Man, the first Iron Man. Meanwhile, you can go to Universal and you can get yourself a hamburger with Fruit Loops on it, apparently.
Yeah, it's like a donut bun. It's a Halloween Horror Nights thing.
That sounds like a horror night kind of a thing, yes.
Oh, people say it's good.
All right, well, you know, who knows? Maybe we'll try it. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up.
Yep.
All right, guys, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye.